Have you ever felt stuck with your diabetes management? Today I want to talk to you about how you can get to the next level, whether it be your time in range, your A1C, or something completely unrelated as long as it is diabetes management. Of course, we're going to talk about my own journey towards 100% time in range and what you can do about it. Without any further ado, let's get into our theme song. I've spent the last 10 years pushing the limits while identifying trends and patterns in my type 1 diabetes management. Follow along as I learn, apply, and share the fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle strategies that I've learned from diabetes experts around the world. The real question is, how can we live fearlessly with diabetes while maintaining stable blood sugars? This podcast is here to give you the answer. My name is Matt Vandervecht, head coach and co-founder of FTF Warrior, and welcome to Pardon My Pancreas. All right, so as you may or may not know, whether you follow me on Instagram or if you're on an email list or something like that, this last week was kind of mind-blowing for my own personal journey towards the time in range cap of 100% time in range. And I'll be completely honest with you, early on in the week, decided to check my Clarity report for Dexcom. And those of you who don't know what that is, it's another app where you can go to the website where you check your percentage time in range, or how much percent of the 24-hour period you spend between the numbers of 70 and 180, right? And if you're on millimole, I think it's like 4 to 10, something like that. And I just decided to check it out, and I think I was talking to a client, and I was like, hey, we go through, that's actually what it was. I was on a coaching call with one of my clients who is, I coach type 1 diabetics on, time in range and blood sugars and all that fun stuff. And I was coaching them on how to get into their Clarity report. It was a new client of mine, and I was like, all right, you open up Clarity, you go to time in range, you're gonna check your high, your low percentage, and as I'm coaching them through it, I'm doing it on my own phone, and I paused for a second, and I was like, no way. I didn't want to distract from the call, so I kept it to myself, but I was seeing 100% time in range for the previous 2 days. So 48 hours, 100% of my time was between 70 and 180. Average glucose was like 122 or something. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube. And I was shocked. And I decided, I was like, I wonder how far I can take this. Can I go 3 days, 4 days? Can I get to an entire week? And for those of you who do use Clarity, you may or may not be aware that you can actually set your phone and set the Clarity app to notify you once a week on Sundays with your weekly time in average. Time in range average. And so I have had that set for the past couple of years, and it's a great reminder. It's also a great way to gather a quick glance of your data and see, am I getting better, am I getting worse, am I staying consistent with what I usually get, right? And if you drop like 20% over a week, can I figure out why? Was that a hormonal week? Was that a stressful week? Did I stop taking care of my diabetes that week? Can I improve? All that fun stuff. So anyways, I posted on social media on Instagram at FTF Warrior for those of you who are not following yet. And I was like, I wonder if I can keep this going. And day after day after day, it was blowing my mind because the first couple days were an accident, but then continuing that stretch, I was able to keep it going for quite a while. Until one fateful day. It was the day before I would have been able to complete my 100% time in range for an entire week stretch while living my life, right? This wasn't like I restricted myself and held back and didn't eat carbohydrates and starved myself for a week to get that. No, I was going kayaking with friends, we were going out to eat great meals, I was working, we had a road trip mixed in there, like all that fun stuff, and still 100% time in range. But the final meal that threw me out of range was actually a meal for my wife's birthday. We went out with friends, and right before that meal, I had to change both my Dexcom sensor and my transmitter. The tech kind of had a bit of a hiccup, and it gave me some false readings. I reacted emotionally and shot through the roof, and I passed by 200 and waved as we passed up towards some unfavorable numbers. And so unfortunately, I did not cross into 1 week of 100% time in range, but I had some interesting thoughts along the way. I wanted to share those with you, and how different levels of diabetes management will yield different results. And so initially, the first goal is understanding time in range, how to improve it, what is going to manipulate those variables. Of course, understanding that if you can get your overnight to be 100% in range, stay between 70 and 180 during the nighttime while you're sleeping, not only will you get better sleep and have less stress, you'll wake up more refreshed, but that's a third of your day. That means you're guaranteed 33% time in range at a minimum. right? That's a freebie. But recognizing that during the day there are a number of variables that can throw you for a wild loop, right? Different types of meals, or if you have to skip a meal, or different types of activities, maybe some spontaneous events. Your friends invite you to go for a hike or a bike ride, and oh boy, the list goes on, right? But then realizing, after I was kind of gathering my thoughts after almost making it for a full week, that it requires different skill sets for us to accomplish different percentage time and range. And this also applies to your A1C. So if you're not on a CGM yet, or a continuous glucose monitor, don't fret. This applies to your A1C as well. Getting from an A1C of a 14 to an A1C of a 10 requires a vastly different skill set than getting from an A1C of a 6 to an A1C of a 5.2, right? And so recognizing that, when you're at an A1C of 14, you probably just got to start taking your insulin, or at least taking it before you start eating your food, right? There's a different skill set versus understanding how to pre-bolus and count your carbs, and maybe counting proteins and fats, and understanding, what different basal rates are going to do to your blood sugars. That's more the sub-6 kind of range of what we expect to hit those types of A1C numbers. And so as it relates to time and range, looking back at my own journey, recognizing that, going from 50% to 70% was simply a matter of, I need to count my carbs and just do what I'm supposed to do. Like actually check my blood sugars before a meal, before I dose, right? Oh, I'm high. I should probably take a little more insulin. Oh, I'm low. Maybe I shouldn't take my insulin and go for a walk and then eat, because I'm going to go even worse, lower, right? And that could be dangerous. And so recognizing that getting to 70%, which for most of us should be your goal. Okay, if you're not at 70% yet, we need to have a talk. You and me, we need to have a table discussion of how we can get you up to 70 at least, because once you get across 70% time in range, I believe your quality of life goes up in addition to your health. Because let's think about this for a second. If you're not worried about your blood sugars 24/7 because you're going low or going high, it makes life a bit easier to live, right? And so each percentage that we go up in time and range, see a correlation with increase in quality of life as well. Less worry, less stress as it relates to diabetes. But I digress. With the above 70% time and range, 70 to 80, there's a new skill set that gets involved. It's no longer, do I count my carbs, but do I need to count fats? Do I need to count proteins, right? The insulin timing comes into play. The pre-bolus, that's kind of important, isn't it, right? And then you get to 80 and you're like, do I want to go higher? Do I want to stay here? A lot of people get to 70, 80%. They say, hey, you know what? I'm good. I'm fine with where this number is at. I don't want to put the extra effort in. And that's on you, okay? I can't convince you to get into a higher percentage time and range, other than letting you know that as you get into that higher percentage, life with diabetes does get easier. I'm just going to lay it out for you. The higher that percentage time and range, in most cases, I will say in most cases, your life does get easier. I say in most because some people do cheat the system and hyper restrict their lifestyle, the way that they eat, the way that they approach activities, or they just all out skip meals, right? Oh, I was 100% time and range today. Yeah, but you fasted for 24 hours. You didn't touch food. You can't do that long term, right? And so there are different ways to manipulate your numbers, and we're not talking about that. We're talking about living your fullest life with having an improved percentage time and range, right? And so that's where I got to this 100% time and range journey, this decision that I had where, yes, technically, I could have fudged the numbers. I could have skipped that meal where I knew my technology was not giving me accurate data, and I could have removed that variable and coasted into a full week of 100% time and range. But I chose not to do that. Why? A, it's my wife's birthday. I'm not going to become the center of attention for her birthday. We're going to focus on celebrating her. But B, diabetes management isn't just about managing your diabetes. It's also about living your life, experiencing things. And so we went out to this Italian restaurant that she'd been wanting to go to for a long time. Yes, I could have said, I'm going to bring my own food, or I'm just going to order the salad, right? But instead of ordering the salad, I ordered an entire pizza. An entire pizza, and it was delicious. And I said, you know what? I accept that I'm not going to have a fair shot at this 100% time and range because numbers are up and down, tech was wonky, and I'm completely guessing on this Italian food, which is notorious for being a bit more difficult to handle. And pizza, come on. That's one of the most challenging meals we can throw at ourselves. But I said, you know what? I'm here to live my life. And so ultimately, and I'll throw this one up on the screen as well, I ended up with 95% time in range for the full week because that meal kind of threw me for a loop. I ended up staying above 200 for a bit, and after that we had some other birthday festivities with some friends, and I said, you know what, we're just gonna ride this one out, take some extra insulin, right, but we're not gonna go and leave the party because we want to take care of this. Now, that's going to be a situational thing. Right, sometimes if blood sugars are getting messy, you should take some time to yourself. I made a decision to be with my wife, to celebrate with her, and say, you know what, I don't need 100% time in range right now. Right now, her birthday is more important to me. So finding this balance between healthy and happy. Now, there's one final note on this that I want to give you, and that's, you know, getting from 50 to 70% time in range, or even from 30% to 50% to 70%. To 80, and once you get higher it's by tens, right? 70 to 80, different skill set than 80 to 90. Different skill set than 90% to 100%. To get to 100% without restricting yourself does require a new skill set than you are used to. Okay, this is a skill set that I used to not possess. And anywhere between 70 and 100%, this is where you require some form of analytical approach. You need to know your numbers. What gets measured gets managed. Okay, that phrase, I cannot say it enough. Whether that's writing down your blood sugars and searching for a trend, whether it's studying your CGM graphs, whether it's going to your endo if you have a great endocrinologist or doctor who wants to help give you feedback and actually have a discussion back and forth, or maybe that's hiring a coach like myself to help you go through your numbers, show you where some small tweaks can be made to give you these massive wins, these big improvements in time and range. It's the same reason that some of our clients can double their time and range in under 2 weeks. Just from working with us, right? Getting to that higher level does require a new approach. If what you've been doing for the last year, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years with diabetes is not working now, you're gonna have to change your approach. Why? Because nothing changes when nothing changes. You can't keep doing the same thing that's not working and expect it just to one day magically start working for you, right? And so when you get used to this, here's a common phrase that I've heard before: new levels, new devils, right? When you get to a new level, it's a new set of challenges that you previously were unaware of. Once you get to that 70% threshold, now how do I get to 80? Well, it's not just from taking your insulin, right? Now you have to look about insulin timing, insulin amounts, different timestamps in your insulin pump if that's what you're on. Maybe looking at split dose if you're on MDI, right? There's all these new strategies to fine tune and make small tweaks to help you bump that extra 10%, 20%, 30% time and range that you're after. So if you're getting frustrated with your blood sugars not doing what you want to do, if you've been trying and your tires have just been spinning in the mud, you're putting in all this effort into your diabetes management and it's just plateauing. You're not getting where you need to go. Maybe your A1C is stuck at a 7.2 and you just want to get it under 7. It requires a different skill set. You might just not be getting told what you need to do to reach that new level. Your time in range, maybe it's been stuck at 65% or 75%. You just want to cross into 80%. It's a new skill set. It's not your fault. You haven't been taught properly, but you do need to take action and learn what that new skill set looks like for you, which means seeking out new opportunities, new books, new trainings, new courses, new coaches, whatever that next step looks like for you and where you're at in your journey, okay? So if you are frustrated with being stuck in your blood sugars, not knowing why they do what they do, feeling like you've plateaued with either your time in range or your A1C, or you're just not living your best life. Maybe quality of life is lacking and you recognize that you don't like eating low carb. Maybe you want to have the whole pizza like what I did. Maybe you just want to enjoy a full night's sleep. Whatever that is, I want to invite you to come watch a training that I put together. It's called diabetesinaction.com. It's not called that, it's at that website. And so if you go watch that training, we're gonna dive into insulin amounts, how to time your insulin. These are the next level strategies that I was talking about, right? How different foods are going to impact your blood sugar, something called your personalized macronutrient profile, something that we set up and we walk you through. We're looking at your activity impact ratios, in other words, how different types of exercises are going to affect blood sugars. If this all sounds like gibberish to you, go watch the training, learn about these new strategies, so that when you get to those new levels, new devils, you'll know exactly what to do, exactly what to implement in order to see those more stable blood glucose numbers, as well as the higher percentage time and range, all right? Not guaranteeing you're gonna get to 100%, Now, of course, working with us does better your chances of seeing those numbers, but we're not after perfection. We're after progress. All right, so head over to that website. It's called diabetesinaction.com. Type that in, check out the link below. Make sure you head over there. It's a quick training that I put together just for you, and it'll help give you that new skill set, a new perspective on your diabetes management. All right, enjoy it. If you have not yet, definitely do subscribe to our channel, to our podcast. I will see you guys in the next video. Have an amazing day. Of course, happy birthday to my wife as well. Today is her birthday. And when you'll be seeing this, it will be yesterday. But you get the picture. Happy birthday to her. Have an amazing day and keep up the fight.